All right, more news breaking here as we come back as one more Senate Democrat is now voicing concern about President Biden. It's Senator Martin Heinrich, New Mexico, saying that the president needs to show that his debate was indeed just one bad night and that he does have a clear path ahead to be able to beat Donald Trump. NewsNation contributor, Democratic strategist Kurt Bardella is next up, and he joins us right now. So you add that to John Tester, right? Sherrod Brown, who we talked about a few minutes ago. So this is the way they're doing it in the Senate, for what it's worth. Not explicitly calling for the president to drop out these three senators, but certainly raising questions. What's next here?
Well, I think that we have a bit of a runway, and it's between now and next Thursday night, which is the night in which Donald Trump will officially accept the nominee at the Republican National Convention, in Milwaukee. And I think that everyone in Congress, Democratic allies, are waiting to see how President Biden performs during this stretch of time. He obviously has that big NATO press conference coming up at the end of the week. He's going to have a number of rallies and events. I would not be surprised if we see some spontaneous appearances in different mediums, kind of like he did this morning on another network.
Yeah.
And I think that if he can do that successfully and get through those in fairly consistent form, that might be enough to keep everybody at bay and keep the dam from really breaking and flooding for calls on him to step aside.
That's interesting. Let me ask you about that. I'll put up another part of the Biden's excerpt, the letter he sent to Congress. So he did two things. He called into the TV show and he sent a letter to Congress. And this part of it, he says, I want you to know, despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I'm firmly committed to staying in the race, running the race to the end, beating Donald Trump. And another part, Curtis, he said, as you know, he said something to the effect of, I want this all to end. Stop talking about this. I'm done talking about it. And, I'm the nominee essentially, and I'm not getting out. So when you say he can prove something, say the news conference, for example, he has a decent performance at the news conference. What does that actually prove, though? It doesn't necessarily negate the possibility of having another night like the debate performance or even the Stephanopoulos interview, which didn't have great reviews. It doesn't erase all of that, right? I mean, all of that's still out there.
No, it doesn't. But I think the thing is, it's not about erasing things. It's about stop providing ammunition for this to hit critical mass and to slow everything down. I mean, this happened remarkably quick when you think about where we were the day before the debate,
right,
and where we are right now. That is a rapid progression where you have openly now members of Congress and his closest allies really saying that there should be at least a conversation about whether or not the president should run for re-election. That is unthinkable. 2 weeks ago, that would have been an unthinkable statement to make. That there was no conversation like that happening in the Democratic Party anywhere, publicly or otherwise. And that's obviously not the case today. So I think that right now for the Biden team, the impetus is on slowing this down a little bit, playing for time, just trying to get back to neutral. You don't need a win. You just need to stop the bleeding. That's the first step.
From the Biden side. But what about the rest of the party? What time game do you think they're playing? There's many in the party, I would assume, you're better connected than me, far more so, that you think would still like to see a new name at the top of the ticket. So how do they play that? You think they're also playing the Republican National Convention and hoping by the other side of that, maybe that's a time to get the party re-energized and push Biden out? Or they're trying to do it this week as soon as possible?
I mean, I think that the timeline here is, again, the moment that Donald Trump accepts his nomination, the campaign begins here, folks. You cannot, after what's going to be 4 consecutive nights of Republicans and every name of the Republican Party just bashing the crap out of President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Democrats, we have got to be ready with a rapid response, with an aggressive pushback.
So what's your best chance to win then, Kurt, after that?
We can't do that if we're fighting each other.
Right. So what raises your odds of victory after that? Is it, kind of coalescing behind President Biden, who, if everyone's being honest with themselves, you still will have questions. That's why I said earlier, it's not like you won't, and those questions will all be answered. You'll have questions about whether or not he's fit to serve another 4.5 years until he's 86 years of age. Or would you be better kind of re-energizing the party around the vice president, and then you get all the attention going into your own convention in Chicago with a new candidate and all that? Which one would give you the better odds, do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting. One of the things I was watching today was the posture of the Congressional Black Caucus, and the head of the Black Caucus in the last couple hours came forward publicly, still supporting President Biden. A lot of allies in the Black Caucus are doing that. And that to me says that, okay, like these are the most important constituencies in the Democratic Party, the black vote and obviously the women vote, with abortion being so prominent. As long as those two constituencies are sticking with Biden, he probably can ride this out. If they had abandoned him today, that's game over, in my opinion. But that didn't happen. So that tells me more than likely Biden's still going to be on the ticket. He's not going to walk away. And it is now getting to the point where Democrats are going to have to suck it up and do everything they can to coalesce around the president because, again, Trump and the Republicans are coming for you. And they're going to start doing that next week at their convention.
Yes, they will. They've been quiet here, kind of hanging out the president for the last couple of weeks. But you're right. Next week it picks up again. Kurt, thank you. Kurt Bardella with us today. We get back to the weather with Beryl making landfall earlier, as we told you, in Texas. At least 2 dead there.